Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel, Gardening in Cold Spring Harbor. Welcome back to my home garden in Long Island, New York, gardening zone 7A. House plants in general are beautiful and amazing. They're even more amazing when you don't have to pay full price for them. When you can get these plants from a clearance rack. Why ever spend our hard-earned precious money and pay full price for a plant or house plant in general, unless it's a very rare limited variety. Today's video is a Lowe's house plant clearance rack rescue video. I'm going to show you exactly what steps I take as a home gardener to not only rescue but to rehabilitate and to repot my clearance rack house plants. Majority of the plants in my home, more than 95% of the plants in my entire house are clearance rack rescue plants, and they do amazing in my home. Not only do they grow for me, they also bloom for me multiple times per year. So if you're interested in how I not only rehabilitate but also repot clearance rack house plants, then this video is the video for you, my fellow home gardeners. So for those of you looking for that online gardening channel which offers tips, tricks, easy, yet proven gardening advice to take your home gardens to that next level, please don't go anywhere, guys. Stick around with me today. Start with going below this video and clicking the subscribe button. Don't forget to click that bell icon below as well if you want YouTube to send you notifications each time I'll upload a new garden video. Now come with me. Let's rehabilitate, rescue, and repot these beautiful new clearance rack houseplants, and let's get gardening. As I just mentioned, majority, over 95% of the plants in my home, including houseplants, happen to be clearance rack rescue plants, such as this beautiful white bird of paradise. Take a look at how beautiful and tall this plant is. I purchased it just last year for $5 from Lowe's houseplant clearance rack. Just take a look at how many new leaves this plant has put on. How many new leaf shoots are coming out of this plant. What about this fiddle leaf fig plant? This plant I purchased for as little as $7 when the original asking price was $49.99. This plant is by Costa Farms, which many of you are familiar with. Look at all the new leaf growth. You could tell the difference because the older leaves are darker green in color and the new leaves are lighter. So much new leaf growth, and the older leaves are healthy, happy as well. They're dark green, glossy, and firm to the touch. So now let me show you what two new plants I just picked up from my local Lowe's Garden Center houseplant clearance rack, and let me give you step-by-step instructions what you, my fellow home gardeners, should do when and if you purchase a houseplant from a clearance rack to make sure that that new plant will have maximal growing and blooming success in your home. This time around, I purchased two brand new, beautiful house plants at my local Lowe's Garden Center from their house plant clearance rack. The first is this beauty right over here. This is the Pachira aquatica plant, also known as the money tree plant. This plant happens to be by Costa Farms. It's a clean air plant. The sizing of the container is 1.75 gallons. Original asking price, as you can see for yourself, was $35.98. I paid $8 for this beautiful clean air plant. The next beauty, which I also just purchased at my local Lowe's Garden Center, is this Yucca cane plant. Comes with 3 plants in one container. Gorgeous, thick, beige colored trunks. Variegated coloring of the foliage. The original asking price for this Yucca cane plant, also by Costa Farms, was $49.98. I paid $15 for this beauty right over here. Let's dive right in and talk about all the necessary steps which we must take when purchasing and bringing a plant back home that was initially on a clearance rack. The first step cannot be skipped by all means. You do, however, have an option to take the step directly inside the garden central plant nursery, or the second you bring your new plant home. The first step is crucial. That step is to inspect for pests and or disease, regardless of the plant type or plant variety. Inspect the foliage of your plant's leaves, the front, the back side as well, each leaf, the trunk, as well as the soil surface. Any possible pest or insect infestation includes mealybugs, whiteflies, aphids, scale. We do not want to see any markings on the plant as well, as any sign of pest infestation will drain all the juices out of your plant, and the plant is at a risk of dying. Also, you do not want to introduce any pests into your clean, uninfected, undiseased home. Let's say you initially do not see any signs of insect or pest infestation. However, after you bring your plant home, you start to notice that something is happening to it. And only then you notice some aphids or whiteflies or scale or mealybugs on your plant. Don't despair. Treat the infestation as soon as possible. If it's not an infestation, if you only see a few random bugs or insects on your plant, I recommend you try using neem oil. You spray the entire plant thoroughly, both sides of the foliage, the trunk, and the soil surface as well. If you feel that it's indeed an infestation, if it's something you cannot tackle by just applying neem oil, you could try using horticultural oils as well. The steps are exactly the same as with neem oil. You would want to spray horticultural oil throughout the entire plant. Don't forget the back side of the foliage. Don't forget the trunk, the branches, and of course, the soil surface as well. Why? Because insects lay eggs and larvae inside or on top of the soil surface, which will eventually hatch and infest your plant once again. So if you do see any signs of insects or pests, act quickly and act aggressively. So here you are. You decided to purchase beautiful plants from a clearance rack. You bring the plants inside, indoors, into your home. If you have any other house plants growing inside your home, step number 2 is to isolate your new purchased plants from your existing healthy house plants. For how long? I like to isolate new plants for at least 3 to 4 days, far and away from my existing healthy house plants. But don't forget the light and the temperature requirements, please. Each plant will have very clear light, watering, and air temperature requirements, either somewhere on the tag or listed on the container. So if the plant needs full sun exposure, please make sure you don't place the plant in very shady area in your home. If that plant needs temperatures above 50 degrees Fahrenheit, which is what majority of tropical house plants need, make sure you don't put that plant anywhere near open windows, drafty doors, or an unheated room or a garage. After the 3 to 4 days are over, you can start to slowly transition your new clearance plants to close proximity to your existing healthy house plants. That third very important step, which we must never skip when it comes to our brand new purchase, clearance house plants. That step is to inspect the condition of the leaves or the foliage of your new house plant. Any leaf that looks like it's dying, diseased, or already dead. So if you see any changes in the coloring to the foliage, whether it's partial change, like this leaf right here, whether it's the entire leaf, which you could see right over here on this money tree, whether it's the entire branch of the plant, we must take this careful step to remove and to discard of any foliage that looks dead, dying, or diseased to ensure that the plant continues to grow healthy and happy. Depending on the size of the leaves of the foliage, you have multiple options. First, you can pinch off any of the dead, dying, or diseased leaves. If the leaf is larger, please use clean scissors or clean pruning shears and cut off the impacted leaf in its entirety all the way down to the main stem. We have no clue what has impacted this leaf, what has caused it to start dying off, but we want to make sure that we get it as far away from our new plant. Any leaf that shows any sign of death, dying process, or disease must be completely cut off. I'm going to also cut off this yellowing leaf from the Pachira aquatica tree. You could see the majority of leaves on this particular stem are nice, green, and healthy. There's just this one larger leaf which happens to be turning yellow, and I don't know why. But regardless of the cause, I want this leaf to be completely gone off of my plant. I'm also going to remove this leaf right over here. As you could see that on this entire stem, there is new foliage growth, which is great. It's a very good indication that this plant is still happy and healthy. But there's this one stem that looks like the entire perimeter of the foliage is turning yellow. So I'm going to cut it off with clean scissors as well. And I'm going to discard a bit of cord. I'm going to throw it in the trash. Never compost any foliage that has any sign of death or disease. If you see any dead or dying branches on your plant as well, how can you tell if it's dead or dying? You could see the difference in the color first and foremost. Healthy branches are typically bright green in color. Dead or dying branches would start to turn from green to yellow to beige to brown. Sometimes the branches will be also hollow inside, and if you do the index finger scratch test, which is what I'm doing right now, you could see that there's absolutely no green pigmentation on the inside of the branch. Any dead or dying branch needs to be cut off all the way down to the main trunk as well. I cut it off and I could show you that it's absolutely hollow on the inside, meaning that this particular branch has been dead. So I'm very glad that I just cut it off because I want to send all the energy back to the mother plant to help her focus on the existing growth and the healthy branches on the plant. Step number 4 is first and foremost to check for the condition of the soil. You want to make sure that the soil is moderately moist, not too wet or soggy, or not too dry either. Any excess moisture can lead to potential root rot. Any extra dryness can lead to entire death of the plant as well. So if the soil is too dry, please rewater it. If the soil is too moist, definitely stop watering altogether. Wait a few days until at least 2 top inches of the soil are feeling dry to the touch. As you're checking for the moisture content in the soil, also please take your time to inspect the root system, the root ball of your newly purchased plant. Why? Because you want to make sure that the root system is comfortable growing in the existing container. How can you tell if the root ball or the root system is too big or is outgrowing the current size container? If you see any roots appearing above the soil surface, even one single root, that's an indication this pot is being outgrown. Take the time to flip the container upside down as well, regardless of the size or the weight. Why? Because you want to ensure that there's no visible root system growing out of the drainage holes on the bottom as well. Even a single root growing out of the drainage holes is an indication the root ball or the root system of this plant is too big for its current container. If that's the case, pick a new container. Ideally, the container should be very well drained with plenty of drainage holes on the bottom. And it should not exceed the diameter of the current container by more than 2 inches. For example, if the current container is 8 inches in diameter, the new container should be no bigger than 10 inches in diameter. If the current container is 2 inches in diameter, say it's a small house plant, the new container should not be bigger than 4 inches in diameter. Again, why? Because the bigger the container, the more watering it will need. And you never ever want to overwater your plants and expose the root system to root rot. That next essential step is to slowly acclimate your newly purchased house plants. Remember, the condition in which they were growing, transported to the garden center, plant nursery, even a big box store where you purchase them, is nowhere near what the new growing condition will be in your beautiful, warm home. You don't know if these plants were standing next to an automatic door which opens and closes, exposing the plants to cold air drafts. You don't know what the temperature was at that garden center. You don't know how often these plants were watered. What was the light exposure? So slowly acclimate your plants to the new growing conditions. Again, keep in mind what is the necessary light requirement for each plant, and each plant is a unique plant. Each requirement will be different. Some plants need bright light, some need medium indirect light exposure, and some plants thrive in that shade. Remember how often you need to water them and what the temperature exposure should be. Majority of the house plants need temperatures above 50 degrees Fahrenheit to grow and to thrive. If you have decided that your newly purchased houseplant needs urgent repotting, please take a few minutes to look into what type of potting mix you should be using when repotting the plant. Not all of the potting mix is the same. Different plants need different types of soil to grow in, because the correct potting mix will ensure that the plant will not only get the proper air circulation within its root system, it will also ensure that the moisture will drain as quickly as it needs to drain, so your plant will not be exposed to root rot. That next question, which I know many of you, my fellow home gardeners, will be asking is, should you fertilize your newly purchased house plant from the clearance rack? If you purchase the plant during its off-growing season, which happens to be during the late fall, early, mid, and late summer months, when your plant is relaxing, sleeping, saving that energy to start up and grow actively again come spring and summer months, please try to avoid fertilizing your plant unless you see very visible, clear nutrient deficiencies in your plant. Otherwise, when the air temperatures start to warm up, spring season comes around, I always like to fertilize all of my houseplants with this beautiful Espoma Organic indoor houseplant food. Clear instructions on the back of the package. This fertilizer is liquid and water soluble. Each plant will have different fertilization schedules. Some plants need fertilization once every week, bi-weekly, bi-monthly, monthly. Some plants do not need to be fertilized for as long as 3 to 6 months. Will depend on the type of plant you purchase. But I promise you, my plants love this fertilizer. Take a look at the sizing of the leaves on this white bird of paradise. All the new foliage growth that is happening right over here. And no, I have no connection whatsoever to Espoma Organic. I don't work for them. I do not profit. I do not market their products. I am simply recommending this fertilizer to you guys, my fellow home gardeners, because I have been using it in my home for a few years, and I find it to be very, very efficient, and my plants are very, very helpful when I give them the boost of nutrients using this fertilizer. This is it for this video, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me here today in my home garden in Long Island, New York, Gardening Zone 7A. If you enjoyed this clearance houseplant rehabilitation, rescue, and repot video, then show me that support by clicking thumbs up below. Please take that minute to leave your beautiful, positive comments in the comment section below as well. I take the time to read each and every single one of your comments, and I personally respond to each and every single one of you. If you have been considering subscribing to my gardening channel, Gardening in Cold Spring Harbor, yet haven't done so, why wait any longer? It's super easy to do. Just go below this video and click the subscribe button. Please don't forget to click the bell icon below as well so you can get notifications from YouTube each time I'll upload a new video. Stay healthy, happy, be well, each and every single one of you. And as I always like to say at the end of each and every single one of my videos, happy gardening, guys, and I'll see you again in my upcoming videos. Bye, guys.